When you're a kid growing up, you don't really think about life. Life just happens. Kids are too busy being kids. Toys, playdates with friends, ice cream, cartoons. Your family's just there, the ones you love and trust. You never really think that all of that could change. That my world could get turned upside down. My name is Shyanne Clark. And this is my story. This is like my favorite, all-time favorite.
Shyanne Clark is a strong, independent, compassionate young woman.
Hi. Good morning.
She's a loving mother who does a fantastic job raising her boys. Her past has driven her to be a better mom and protect her children from the life that she experienced. Shyanne had a tough childhood, and she's using these experiences to make a better life for herself and for her children. The thing that sticks out the most about Shyanne is how much she has grown and matured over the last few years. She has set goals for herself to do better, not only for herself, but for others around her. She's a fighter. She fights for herself, she fights for her children, and she fights for everybody that's around her.
I got taken away from my parents when I was 8 years old. I was sitting on the couch watching TV with my mom. I heard a knock on the door, and it was just one of those knocks that you know wasn't just someone coming over. I looked out the window, and there was the drug task force team surrounding the house. Had one of those big things that you use to knock down the doors. My mom started to panic. She told me to grab blankets and put them in front of the door. I don't know why she really told me to put blankets in front of the door, because I don't know why that would help. I looked out the little peephole in the door and I was like, no. They are coming in right now. They're not going to wait to put blankets in front of the door. My mom ran to her bedroom and sat on her bed, and I opened the door, and like 12 of them at once came in. I moved to the side and I started freaking out. I saw that my mom was being arrested and I booked it out the front door and took off down the alley. 2 cops chased me down and they ended up putting me in the back of a cop car. They explained to me that I needed to wait and that they were going to try to get a hold of my mom's sister and see if I could go there. I just remember being really scared. Seeing my mom get arrested was really hard for me. And when I see other people get arrested, it's still really hard for me to see them get arrested. It's like a trigger almost.
What happened? Leon. I didn't do that. What is that?
I like to sketch portraits of animals and people.
What?
It relaxes me.
Do you play this a lot?
I have a special eye for detail, and so when I'm sketching, I just love noticing all the details and beauty in animals and people. If you can imagine this huge heart just slowly shrinking, and a happy face slowly turning into a really sad, worried face with tears running down the face. And as the heart starts to shrink, it starts beating faster and faster and faster. And as it gets to the smallest it can be, it explodes into this white, bright room. You see reds of red flying around, and suddenly the room gets pitch black and you're just left with tears running down the face.
What the? That lake doesn't have any ice on it?
No, it's not cold enough yet. It hasn't even really snowed. Life before being removed had its ups and downs.
Have ice on it.
I don't think quite yet, maybe like ponds. My mom was married when I was younger, and those are the memories I try to hold on to the most.
Well, no, snow just got in them.
Oh. But over time, I noticed that those memories are starting to fade away. What's that? That looks good.
There's a little bit.
Okay. It was before I was 6 years old, and I had a stepbrother and a stepsister. Life was great. I loved having siblings and a mother that was involved in things. It didn't last very long. They got a divorce when I was 6 years old, and things started to slowly go down the hill from there. I had freedom to basically do whatever I wanted. My mom was still involved in my life, but it was still really lonely. I didn't have anybody my own age. I was always running around with my mom and her friends who are adults, and then they're almost adult kids, so everybody was always older than me. I never really had a chance to just be a kid. It made me grow up really quick. I learned a lot of life lessons early on, to where before I turned 18, I had already exhausted the adolescent stage. I learned a lot of mistakes from others, to where I didn't have to make them myself. I didn't have to make bad choices to learn from them, which was nice, but you don't get to experience life. Before foster care, my relationship with my dad was really minimal.
I felt really bad because him and I never really like bonded or like we had.
I didn't get to see him very much, and when I did, it was really uncomfortable. He always seemed really messed up, and so when I went with him, it was always really scary for me. When I did get to go with him, it was always in the car, just like driving around with him, and he is not a safe driver. We'll just leave it at that. Not a safe driver at all. It was the opposite with my mom. Her and I were really close, but not like a child should be with their parent.
That num-num?
She was more of my friend, and I was her friend, more so than a daughter-mother relationship. Maybe that's not gonna work like I thought it would. I knew everything about her, and she knew everything about me. Huh.
I have to teach you.
I knew all her adult issues and complications, and I always knew what her plans were, and her plans weren't always good plans. I knew when she was selling drugs, getting drugs, doing drugs. I found her one time in the bathroom with a needle in her arm, passed out, and that was really scary. I know that I was freaking out. I was in panic mode, and I tried to wake her up, but she wouldn't wake up. And then my mom's friend got home, and she pushed me out of the bathroom and shut the door with her in there. And then next thing I knew, they were both coming out just fine. So who knows what happened in there?
Are you excited for Christmas? Are you sure?
Me too. I mean, at age 6 years old, I knew how to blow a meth pipe. I always had nice things. I had nice clothes, nice shoes. I always had projects to do, but I never really had that consistent relationship with my mom that a child should have, that guidance and compassion that a parent should share.
I'm excited to see what you got me.
Do you want me to tell you? No.
No.
I'll give you a letter of it. It starts with
With C?
no, can't.
Every child wishes for freedom because they're always getting told what to do and get grounded or whatever, but I had way too much freedom, and honestly, I wish I didn't have that much freedom.
I can still remember when Shyanne was born. It was a trial because she was a meth baby, so she was in a lot of pain, and she was early, so that was tough. But she, that's kind of who she is now. She's really tough and focused. But as a child growing up, she was bounced back and forth between meth people and people that were stable, and she became sort of like a chameleon. She was able to adjust to her environment and kind of become the person that she was expected to be in that environment. So that was a challenge for her. But one of the traits that she learned at a young age was to take care of her mother, because her mother and her father were both addicts. And so she took on the role of a parent. Even at age 8, she was taking care of it. And that could be all bad, but looking at it in a positive light, she has talents to help other people that, a person with just a regular, normal upbringing wouldn't have. So she's turned that into a positive thing.
After being taken from my parents, I went and lived with my aunt. I didn't know it at the time, but my aunt had similar issues going on as my mom did. It wasn't long before things changed.
Make sure I have mine.
I remember I was in the kitchen cooking food with my cousin and we heard a knock on the door. My uncle answered the door and I heard a gal say, "My name is so-and-so from Child Protective Services." My heart dropped. My cousin and I looked at each other and started to panic. She hid me in a laundry basket in the kitchen under a bunch of clothes. My uncle let them in and he turned to my cousin and asked where I was, and she said that I left a few hours ago to a friend's house. He stated, "That's not true. I just saw her here, standing here making food." He began to walk back and forth through the hallway next to the kitchen while CPS stood at the front door. As he was walking back through the kitchen, he saw me through the clothes and grabbed me and said, "See, here she is." I began to cry hysterically and begged them not to take me. The CPS worker took me into her car and then we left and went to the CPS office. I didn't understand why I was being removed from my aunt's house. I was super angry and hurt that this was happening all over again. I never really had a chance to process what was going on. I was left to figure out these questions and thoughts by myself. As an adult, I was finally able to seek out therapy and process all of those neglectful feelings and anxiety that I had suppressed over the years.
You know, these kiddos struggle with all of these emotions and they need to talk about it. They need to say, "Hey mom, hey dad, this is how I'm feeling." And I think people can have a negative outlook when it comes to like, oh, we don't ever want to stick them back with their mom, or we don't ever want to stick them back with their dad. You know, they deserve better than that. Well, they're family and that's all they know. I mean, we can look at Cheyenne's story and hear the stuff that she saw as a kid. You know, that's normal to them. And then when they get stuck somewhere else and nobody talks to them about it, you know, I think that's the biggest thing about separation is the kids. Like, who's talking to the kids? Are they going to therapy, or are they able to express their feelings? Do they even know why they're being taken away from their families? I think that's the biggest and scariest thing. It's a scary thing when you're ripped away from something that you've known.
My first foster home was really comforting and it was a safe environment, but it was still really uncomfortable having parents that weren't your own and being in a house that you weren't familiar with. I don't even remember the names of my foster parents in the first home or the second one, so if that doesn't tell you anything about the situation, then I don't know what would. There were a lot of new and different people in my life. There was social workers, foster parents, supervisors for visits, lawyers. It was like this awful game of tug of war. It was really overwhelming and frustrating.
Shyanne was my very first case. I had just become a CASA, and I met her, and she was 8 years old. Why I became a CASA, or how I learned about CASA, was I was in Seattle, and I was volunteering as a probation officer out there, and a CASA came to interview me about one of the children that was involved in the justice system. And so then I found out what CASA was. Came back, we moved back here to the Flathead, and I ran into Judge Limpus and asked him about it, and so then he told me about it and got me in touch. I learned about CASA, and I've always had, being a teacher, children in my life were always very, very important. And so when I found out that CASA took care of children who had been neglected or abused, or something tragic had happened in their lives and they lost their parents for some reason, and that the court would appoint us to take part in their lives and be a part of their lives and be there for them, not as a parent, but as someone they can count on, someone they could call, someone they could share their feelings with. I knew that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to help these children try and get through the trauma that they were going through, either to return them to their parents, if that was possible, or to find a relative, if that was possible, or to find them a great foster home. Hopefully concurrent, which means that they would adopt them. And so that was my goal. And I think that's why I've been in it for so many years.
When I first met Carol, it was really awkward and I was really angry because I didn't want another person in my life. Having just been placed in foster care and doing supervised visits with my mom and my grandparents, it was just a lot. At first, I didn't understand that she was there for me and just only me. And once we started interacting more and I got to hang out with her more and see her more often, her and I became really close. I remember that we would meet at different food places for our little get-togethers.
Shyanne and I would meet once a week. So at that time, as a CASA, we couldn't drive our children anywhere, and so she was living with her paternal grandparents at the time, and they would bring her wherever we decided to meet for games and lunch.
We would play dominoes and pick up sticks, and it was really fun when I would go meet with her.
And so they would drop her off, I would have her, Shyanne and I would play games together. She would win, I would win, taught her games and so on. And she thought sometimes I wasn't always very nice to her, because if she tried to get away with something, I called her on it. So we agreed that we would play fair with each other.
I know sometimes I could have been a little butthead and I'd walk in and be like, I'm not talking today.
So one day, Shyanne wanted to go bowling, and I said, well, I'm not a very good bowler. I said, my score is usually higher than my age, or double my age. She said, no, I want to go bowling with you. And so we met at the bowling alley, and we had a great day bowling. We got all done bowling, and she goes, you were right. You're not very good at this.
She was always so willing to be gentle with me, no matter how rude or angry I was being in the moment. Her showing her consistency and willingness to be there for me has stuck with me throughout my whole life. It's something I have internalized to take with me wherever I go, with family and people that I'm working with in my career, and just everywhere I go, I've learned to keep that with me.
Let me drop my head, turn it. Cut. I think it's worth mentioning some of the things that Shyanne had to do or experienced when she went into foster care. And this probably applies to a lot of foster kids. She had a life, she had stuff, she had a room, you know, she had her food that she ate, she knew where things were in the kitchen, that kind of thing. She had a life and purpose with her, you know, taking care of her mother. But when she went into foster care, it was like they have to, in 1 hour, they take all of their life and leave it here and take a little bag of stuff and go to a new environment and give that up. I mean, as you as a person, if you thought about the most important things in your life and you just have to push them off the edge of the table and go somewhere else and live differently. It's like your house burning down or you're, you know, having a flood or something like that for a child. Everything is taken away. And that happened to her. Fortunately, in her case, she had family that she was familiar with. But still, when they moved her from us to another foster family, or from that family to another, it was the same experience. And I see consequences of that even today, is that she has no trouble at all giving up stuff. I mean, if she has to move or change a car or something like that, it's not like she's so attached to that thing that it's traumatic for her. So on the positive side, it worked that way, but for some kids, that's just got to be an absolute nightmare. So having a CASA advocate to help them work through some of that stuff and having the right support in foster care is just so important.
I did not like one thing about the second foster home. They portrayed themselves as like really religious people, and they were like by far not religious at all. They didn't follow anything out of the Bible like they should have. In front of other people they did, but not behind closed doors. The foster dad actually left bruises on my arm one time, and I just constantly felt like I was walking on eggshells no matter what I was doing. And thank God for Carol, because she took everything I said very seriously and got me out of there. It was the worst feeling being in someone else's home and just really not knowing like what their lives have been like or what their rules are like, and kind of just having to figure that out on your own. It was just really uncomfortable. It was this constant struggle every day that I would wake up and not have any contact with my family or know what was going on with my mom, and just that no communication at all with her was really hard. I tried really hard every day to like suppress those feelings of being angry at my mom and not knowing where she was or what was going on, but I just couldn't find myself like letting go of all these feelings that I had. I got so angry. I would scream, I would cry, I would just get so irritated and couldn't figure out how to stop being angry. I would just be sitting there stuck and angry for hours and hours. It was so exhausting being angry all the time and not being able to like live in the moment and just accept things. It was just super exhausting. I would just end up super angry over and over again. It was just a horrible cycle to be in. Having the label of a foster kid is like having this dark gray cloud follow you everywhere you go. Kids make fun of you because you have all these different people picking you up from school all the time, and they just don't understand like, where's your parent, you know, just constantly mimicking you and making fun of you. And teachers would treat me different than other students, like feel sorry for me or not feel sorry for me, and would expect me to be treated like every other student and not give me that like soft side that I may have needed that day. It was like having a plague, like no one wanted to come near you. The light broke through eventually. I was able to move to Oregon with my grandparents, my mom's parents, and my case was dismissed. For the first time, I could just be a kid. I could just let go and feel like everything was okay. And I didn't know if that was because I wasn't in the same like state as my mom, or if it was just because CPS and everybody was no longer a part of my life. I was really able to just be a kid and thrive. I didn't really have much of a childhood left, but at least I could just take the time to thrive in being a kid again. My family has a ranch in Condon, and growing up, knowing that was really cool. That's what got me excited about horses and knowing about horses.
Should we get them a treat?
Moving around all the time, though, when I was a kid, made it really hard for me to be a part of the ranch and go there and learn about stuff and just really be able to be a part of it. I never really got that chance.
What's this, Papa?
Madras, Oregon is where I was living, and they had this really cool rodeo culture. 4-H was where I first got started riding horses. It started off showing rabbits first, and then I got really involved in horses when I was offered riding lessons, and it was just really cool to be a part of that. I felt like I had this natural talent to ride horses. I like riding horses because it's just something about when you get on a horse, you just feel this instant relief of reality. It's like freedom. Just like you see in the movies. Having that instant relief of reality is amazing, especially with all the struggles and obstacles I had been going through. I think when I moved to Oregon, that was really a turning point in my story. I was getting good grades, I was riding horses, I was involved in volleyball, which was a huge part of my time there too. It was just an amazing experience. I think that when I was getting the good grades and being a part of volleyball and riding horses, it just gave me this boost of confidence, and it just was an amazing feeling knowing that there was good out there, or that I was capable of doing good things. I think another really amazing part was just knowing that there was such thing as a good life, and that I was living that good life, and that eventually I get to choose that this is going to be a good life as I'm getting older and getting the opportunity to do more, just realizing that it's good. Not all things are always bad, and that I get to choose that, not anybody else. It changed everything for me.
Hello.
Hi, Grandma.
Hi, Shyanne.
What are you doing?
Just finished dinner.
Oh, cool. I was wondering if you had a couple of minutes to talk about when I first moved there. What was it like for you when I first moved there?
Well, actually, I was very nervous because we'd been trying for 4 years to get you. And then we had made a major change in our life by Grandpa accepting a job in Central Oregon, and we had moved over here and actually Grandpa had moved over here because I was still at the old house waiting for it to sell. And when Carrie Ann called me to say that we were going to get you, I was quite shocked because all of a sudden we were without home.
Oh, yeah.
But it all worked out. We were living with we went over and lived with our friends Connie and Dick, and actually Carrie Ann even came over and did a check of the home to make sure that it would be all right for you to stay there.
Yeah, I wasn't excited.
I don't think you were excited at first, but I think it all worked out pretty good. You missed your mom.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter where you were missing your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got here, we wanted to try to make up for you not having much of a childhood. Or a lot of it had been taken away from you, and so we wanted you to experience a lot of things that kids experience. And I hope we were able to fulfill that.
Yeah, I remember it like that because I was able to do like volleyball and I was in band and riding horses and showing rabbits and stuff like that. And I even got good grades there. Like that was probably the best thing that could have happened. Big change in my life. Do you remember when I got reserve grand champion when I was in the fair with Opie?
Mm-hmm.
Riding him, yeah, that was fun.
It was exciting.
I do remember like all the fishing trips we've gone on and like camping, yeah, and going on the boat and going on the tube behind the boat.
We used to bake a lot together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did. I'm not so good at it though, by myself.
I'm not either.
It turns out good. It tastes good. It tastes good, but it looks like clay or something horribly wrong with it.
Well, we had a lot of good times. There's no mistaking about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. I know it was all good. The summer before starting high school, I had the opportunity to choose if I wanted to stay in Oregon with my grandparents or move back to Montana with my mom. I chose to move back to Montana with my mom. I had remembered my mom as she was before, and even though she was doing drugs and was absent a lot, she was still there. She was a good mother. But in the years since, we had grown apart. We were different people. Reuniting after all those years didn't go as smoothly as I thought they would. We argued all the time, and she basically let me do whatever I wanted out of guilt for missing out on so much in my life. I went to Whitefish High School for my freshman year. I was really struggling to figure out who I was and if I had made the right choice of moving back to Montana. The year I became pregnant with my first son is also the year that my mom started using again.
I entered Cheyenne's life right before she got pregnant and became a teen mom. this was a very difficult time for her.
I was scared of what my mom's reaction would be or what she would do, considering that she started using again. It was really scary to bring up the fact that her 16-year-old daughter was pregnant. I was scared of what my grandparents would think because they're a huge impact on my life. I was really nervous to go to school and be that 16 and I'm pregnant going to school, and what are my friends gonna think of me? I was terrified. When I told my mom I was pregnant, she told me, straight looking me in the face, saying, you can get an abortion or you can move out. So I ended up getting kicked out, and I moved in with my son's parents, and he was there too. A week later, after living there, I came to my mom and told her I would get an abortion, and she asked me why. And I told her because the dad wasn't going to love me the same. He wasn't going to look at me the same. I was scared of what everybody was going to think of me. It was just like this overwhelming feeling of hatred from everybody and not knowing if the person I love was going to stay with me. My mom looked me dead in the eye and called me an idiot. She said I wasn't going to be having an abortion for the wrong reasons. The wrong reasons being the influence of someone else's feelings. And that just really hit hard. And she looked at me again and said, if you love this child, you're gonna have this child. And so I was gonna have a baby. Being pregnant and fitting into school was really hard. And so I transferred over to the independent high school. And that's where I made a lot of really good friends and found that it was okay to be pregnant and at school. It was really scary being pregnant, and the father was super emotionally abusive. That's when I really realized that no one was going to be taking care of us and that I had to take care of us. I was working 2 jobs full-time all the way up until my delivery. It wasn't easy, but having my son was the best thing that happened to me, and I wouldn't change having him when I did. Being a mom is the best feeling and the best reward anybody could ever ask for. Growing up in foster care, I just really had this deep, deep promise that I made to myself that I would never let anything happen to my children or have them ever questioning their love or where they belong. Like, I would never have that happen to them because that was a constant feeling I always had, and I just never want my children to ever feel that. So even before I had kids, that was a promise I made, but it really hit me when I had my kids. When I had my first son, I never realized how much someone could love someone else because I never really got to experience that feeling, and just knowing that I was capable of loving someone as much as I loved him was just so amazing, and my love for him is never going to go away.
Cheyenne greatest accomplishment today is that she's got many of them, like having her 2 boys, taking the responsibility of them, making sure that they are well taken care of. I think not abandoning them, just being there for them.
When I became pregnant with my second son, it was even more scary. I didn't know how to react to it. I was scared of what everybody was going to think, and I was scared to be this huge disappointment to everybody. It had always been my first son and I was scared that I wasn't capable of loving 2 people the way that I loved my first son. This pregnancy was super difficult. I was constantly sick all the time, and so that kind of gave me the idea that I was having a girl, but I was definitely wrong. It was harder for me to be excited about this pregnancy or really accept the pregnancy because the father wasn't around at all, so it was kind of scary and I didn't really know what to expect. After I had him, it became easier to be excited because I didn't have to share him with anybody. I got twice the loves, twice the time. He was just mine, my boy. I discovered that my love was big enough for both of my kids and that it was equal and that I was capable of loving both of them the same. My boys are what keep me going every day. Just waking up with a smile on my face every day, and no matter how many times I had to say goodnight or sweet dreams or don't get out of bed, you just had a drink of water, you don't need another one, or how many times I had to get up during the night and feed my youngest, I just wake up every day with a smile on my face. Every moment and every little thing that they do that drive me crazy. Or even the happy moments, but even the little annoying parts, I hold on to those really tight because you never get these moments back, and one day it's going to be gone and I'm going to have an empty nest, and I'm not looking forward to that. I am currently attending Flathead Community College. I am double majoring in getting my license for addiction counseling and my generals in social work. Carol, my CASA worker, was actually the one that gave me the inspiration to help others and want to help others like she did for me over the years. We still keep in touch today. My dream is to be duly licensed and have my own private practice in addiction counseling and mental health counseling. But if something came along, like helping families or children, or just another opportunity to be helping others, I would do that. My story has seemed like a series of unfortunate events, but it's helped shape me into the strong, loving, caring mother I am today and the hard worker I am.
Her story inspires me because she has come so far. Even from when she started working at Sunburst 2 years ago, she has set goals for herself. 2 years ago, she came to work to get money, and now she knows what she wants to do. She knows the path that she's going on. She is determined to help others, and I think that's what's so inspiring about her. When she sets goals for herself and goes on a good path, I just want to hug her and congratulate her. You know, she's come so far from going in and out of foster care, being a teen mom, struggling financially. She owns her own home, and what 22-year-old can say? You own your own home, and you have 2 kids, and you've got a solid job, and you're going to school. Not going down the other path. she's an inspiration, and just to hear her tell her story is emotional for me. You know, I have been there for the last 7 years, and I've seen a lot of the ups and I've seen a lot of the downs. So it's cool to be able to be in her life and watch her succeed. She had a tough childhood, and she is determined to do better, and she's not willing to go down that path. She's seen the destruction, and I think there has been times where she has been strayed in that direction, and it hasn't always been rainbows and butterflies, and it always hasn't been perfect, but she's learned from those experiences, and she knows what she wants to do, and she knows she doesn't want to be like her mother, or, you know, go in that direction. I shouldn't say that, but she wants to be a good mother, and she wants to be a positive role model in their life, and not only for her kids, but for others around her. She does want to make a difference in people's lives. She wants to help them. And I think what's so great about Shyanne is she is able to connect with people, and she's able to relate to people. She's able to share her story with them, and that's a motivation for someone else to change and say, you know what, there is something better. You know, I can do better for myself.
So some of the things I'm most proud of about the way Shyanne lives her life and who she is she's committed herself to Jesus Christ and being part of our church body. She's serving in the nursery, and that's really cool. And she's really interactive with Jaden's teachers, and very attentive to her children, and very careful about who they're around and what they're exposed to. She's just become a really good parent and person. And one of the other things is that she's recognized some of the things, she's working through some of the things that she's done or experienced as a child, and being able to apply those experiences in her work and helping other people. And I'm really proud of her for that.
She's grown up so much, and she's very responsible. She thinks about everything that goes on in her life. I mean, the bills, the children, her little boys are her life. So she just blossomed into a fine young woman.
What I've learned and what I want foster kids to know is not to lose hope and not to give up, because one day it'll be all right. We need more carols out there for the kids that are neglected and abused. Every child deserves to be heard and felt like they are cared about. So it takes us adults to come together and make that happen for them. Just for a child to see someone right off the bat be dedicated to helping them means everything to them. Especially when they are cut off from having contact or seeing the people that they love the most and mean the most to them. So just do it. Be a CASA. Be their voice for them.